Last episode, we found wild elephants at Thailand's Kanchanaburi National Park. This time around, we had a few hours outside of Bangkok for some waterfalls and some fairly depressing history.
It's gonna be home sweet home for a few days. The pool looks great, especially today because it is blazing hot. Thad and I voted to just jump in the pool. Brenda won't let us because there's a temple over here.
Lots of adventures to have. We're so excited. Wow. Maybe just me.
I'm telling you right now, we've seen about 1,000 temples in Thailand. I could care less about seeing any more.
Temples in Thailand are just like coffee shops in Seattle. They're everywhere. And since we could see this one from our hotel, there's no way Brenda could pass it up. But unlike the thousands of other temples we've seen in Thailand, which tend to be covered in highly ornate gold and bling, this one was different. Still highly ornate, but in a more cartoonish kind of way, which made it pretty interesting. Kanchanaburi is a little town a few hours northwest of Bangkok, and it straddles the infamous River Kwai. And even though this place has a slow, relaxed, rural pace, just downtown, there's almost anything the average traveler could want. From street markets selling the freshest of fruits, to hotels and hostels, restaurants, and even some pretty wild nightlife. But even with all of its amenities, we were here for something else. Kanchanaburi is the gateway to the Arawa National Park, and the next morning, we were gonna check it out.
Stop for this one?
That's where we're going today. It's gonna be a sweaty ride, really sweaty.
Temperatures reaching 100 degrees and humidity around 90%, a wide open, airy bus ride was just what the doctor ordered.
Doors open.
From Kanchanaburi, a few hours spent on a hot and sweaty bus brings you up into the mountains to this place.
Made it!
And it's even got a welcoming committee.
Hi, pig. Now that's a pig! Don't you know you're... Look at the size of that thing. We made it to the Arawa National Park. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. But that's where we're at. This place has got lions, tigers, and bears. Actually, no lions, but tigers and bears for real. And elephants and lots of other cool stuff. But it's most known for its big waterfall, which we're hiking to right now. 7 tiers. I'm gonna check it out. Hopefully we can go swimming. Because all of us are really hot and sweaty.
Just like that, we made it to the first tier of this 7-tier waterfall. But to see the rest of it, you gotta put in some work.
Thing about waterfalls, they don't live on flat ground. Gotta go up a long ways. And if you ever come to Southeast Asia, unless you sit in your hotel room that's air conditioned, be prepared to sweat. I've never sweat so much in my life. Disgusting.
Each tier takes you not only higher on the mountain and deeper into the forest, but past seemingly more impressive waterfalls at each level. After a fairly grueling and overly sweaty hike, we finally made it to the top.
Hey. Made it!
And at the very top, well, you guessed it, a refreshing swim is required to cool off. Good morning. I think I've talked about this a little bit in the past, but I can't remember, so bear with me. As you might guess, we travel for a number of different reasons. It's fun and exciting, we get to see cool stuff, we meet interesting people, but beyond all the obvious reasons, traveling gives us a little insight, understanding, compassion for the people and places we're visiting. But also, I think we're out here really looking for cultural experiences. We want to know how and why a place ticks. And in my mind, there's two easiest ways to do that. First, eat the food. Second is learn a little bit about the history. One of the things that's really surprised me about our traveling is not really how much I love tacos or spicy noodles, but it's how much I've enjoyed learning about the history of the places we're traveling. I'm by no means a history buff, but to me, learning little details about a place's past goes a long ways for me understanding about its present. But what else I'm pretty surprised about is how little I actually know about the world, especially its history. And here in this little town we're at right now, Kanchanaburi, there's some history that I didn't really know about till we got here. This little town sits on the line of what was called the Thai-Burma Railway. It's probably most famous for the British movie from the 50s called The Bridge on the River Kwai, which loosely depicts the construction of this bridge during World War II by Allied POWs. The railway was built to support Japan's forces in the Burma campaign of World War II and joined Bangkok, Thailand to Rangoon, Burma, in a total length of roughly 258 miles through some of the most difficult landscape of the world. But what makes this railway and the story so difficult isn't the fact that the construction of this line actually happened and was completed, mostly by hand, but how it happened. Roughly 300,000 men were subjected to forced labor in its construction by the Japanese. And of those 300,000 forced laborers, over 100,000 died during its construction. Large number not only by disease and starvation, but by physical abuse and torture as well, which is why the railway is more often now known as the Death Railway. About an hour outside of town lies Hellfire Pass, which was a particularly difficult and deadly section to build. It was the largest rock cutting of the line and was entirely done by hand. During the 12 weeks it took to cut this section of rock, 69 men were beaten to death by Japanese guards, and many more died from disease, starvation, and exhaustion. As another remembrance of what took place here, in the town of Kanchanaburi lies the graves of nearly 7,000 Allied POWs. After paying our respects and working ourselves out of a bit of a funk, thanks to some depressing bits of history, this town still had more for us to see. Even though I was pretty burnt out on temples, for some strange reason, we still ended up here. And yes, we were going to the very top.
I told Brenda no more temples. And here we are at another temple.
I didn't know. I didn't realize we were going to a temple today.
But I have to admit, this one's different and pretty amazing. To reach this centuries-old temple and the top of the mountain, you climb a long flight of stairs and enter through the mouth of a dragon, which is something I can honestly say I've never done before. And once inside the dragon, it's up more stairs to a temple that's hidden inside of a cave. And if that wasn't enough to see, you can wind your way up through a series of caves and caverns all the way to the mountaintop. And at the very tippity top of the mountain, you'll find all this stuff, which even after months spent in Southeast Asia, I still haven't been able to figure out the meaning of. But at least the view's not too shabby. But that's about it for this episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time as we explore Angkor Wat in Cambodia.
We're in the belly of the beast.
Good one, Brenda. That was a good one.